Guys, it's Adam the Science Tutor here, and today we're going to be talking about the ovarian cycle and the uterine cycle. These are oftentimes scary concepts. People don't know what's going on or why it happens, why bleeding occurs. Hopefully today I'm here to shed some light and clarification on it. We're going to be starting off with the ovarian cycle, and I'm going to be talking about hormones in the middle and between each. But this is a very important cycle for all women, so genotypically XX, phenotypically women. You start ovulating post-puberty, and this is the start of prophase 1. So I don't know if you realize, but there's only a certain amount of eggs created. That's why women go through menopause at the end of life, is because they are no longer developing follicles and no longer ovulating. So they go through menopause, which is just an influx of hormones, and it's their body getting used to no longer doing the ovulation. Fun fact, women have about 450 menstrual cycles before they hit their menopause, which is quite the number, but it is kind of something. So if you're a woman and y'all are docking points down, you could start a little clock. But let's do oocyte maturation. So we start with the premature follicle, and then the follicle is developing, getting a little bit bigger, and then it's finally going to be ovulating. So this is a prime time for trying to get pregnant. It's usually about day 14. So if we started here at day 0, this would be about day 14, ovulation. Once your follicle ovulates and produces eggs, corpus luteum is the byproduct. So it goes from here to here, this little ugly thing. It looks like a starfish, but it's all sequestered. It almost becomes like a duct. So it's just now producing hormones, and then it's dying. So this is also the signal for between here and here and here is a signal about when you start bleeding. And when day 14 hits, you have about 14 days of bleeding necessarily. So you go corpus luteum, and then you go corpus albicans. Corpus albicans is the scar tissue left over from the corpus luteum. So it's scarring. It does nothing for the body, it is just scarring. And then this is where we start off back with the original oocyte, and it restarts. So it's the end of the month, it's a restart. It comes back around. So important hormones to get down for what we're doing. So you're going to have also, which are not listed here, but just to reference, you're going to have an LH hormone. There's going to be a surge of LH. So estrogen levels are low, and then at the beginning of oocyte maturation, and estradiol is high. So estradiol is high, so it signals to the body to have a peak of estrogen. So there's going to be a peak of estrogen. There's also going to be a peak of LH hormone, luteinizing hormone. And then around ovulation time, progesterone is also going to come up. It's going to spike up. That's going to turn off your estrogen levels just a bit. And progesterone is going to be high, all the way through to the scarring stage. And it's going to drop off, and we're going to end up back here at the end of the month. And you're going to have estradiol. It's going to be one of your hormones that are going to be bumped up too. So this is the hormones going on through. This is the ovarian hormones that are happening when you're going through your menstrual cycle. Sometimes people say, like, why do girls have mood swings or have hunger or have necessarily like a desire or want? Well, they're having a fluctuation. They have a surge of hormones and then a drop off of hormones too. And estrogen and progesterone are huge into that. So this is kind of why during that time it is like that. But look at the difference. So it's peaked here for estrogen, and then it drops really quick, and then progesterone shoots up. So that's very important. So the uterine cycle. So where do these both occur? Sorry, didn't mention, but ovarian cycle, as you would think, it happens in the ovaries. So these follicles are in your ovaries. That's above your uterus. And then your uterus cycle happens in the uterine. So it happens at the uterine cavity. It's the uterine lining, which is shaved off, which is what creates your bleeding. So, and this is, I didn't do a good job in explaining this earlier, but this is kind of split up in two sections. So this is your follicle stage. This is your luteum stage. So yeah, luteum stage, follicle stage. 2 stages in ovarian cycle. In the uterine cycle, we have 3. We have our menses stage, proliferation stage, and secretory phase. Secretory phase is the bleeding phase. So similarly, we start off at day 0, where our oocyte's at. Menses is occurring, I would say about day 6. It goes into proliferation. And then menses and proliferation are all in the first 14 days. Then you go into your secretory phase, which is your uterus lining is getting shaped down more and more. Not much to it. You just have to know that the uterine cycle is not the same as the ovarian cycle. They happen in 2 different places, 2 different things are occurring, and this is where the bleeding occurs. Your bleeding does not happen in your ovaries. It happens in your uterus. It's just your shaving of the uterine lining, kind of. It's an effect from the hormones. So I hope that clears things up. There's not too much to it. It's often, I think, a more overcomplicated system than what it is. And there's a lot more detail with the hormones because some regulate others. I don't have that for you guys. I just gave you all a simple outline. But yeah, just cool things. Women only have about 450 menstrual cycles. Then they just end up with the corpus albicans, which is the scarring. As women get older, just like as men, their eggs become less viable. So I would say about 32, 33, 34, 40 years old, you're only increasing your odds for genetic disease or mutations because the eggs are older. So all your eggs are made up to prophase 1. They're all stored up. You have about 2 million of them. So you have about 2 million of these dudes running around. And then at prophase 1, which is where puberty hits, you start ovulating, and then you don't create anymore. So you go on and on and on until you're about 40 years old, 42 years old, 45 years old, about 450 menstrual cycles in, and that is when you get into menopause. For men, we don't have this problem. Men create sperm from the time we're born all the way up to you're 80-some years old. So you could be 80, 90 years old and still create your sperm. However, your sperm may not be viable, but it's still being produced. This is not the same in women. Women create all their eggs up to prophase 1, which is about 12, 13 years old. And then from there, they're viable for pregnancy after puberty, and their eggs are ready to go. But cool. You guys have limited amount of eggs. It's not made more than what you guys have at the time of puberty. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, email me below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Just a quick note, forgot to add. So if ovulation is occurring, which I said was the area time you want to get pregnant, if fertilization occurs and the sperm makes it into the ovulated egg, then you guys will stop this section. Hormones will slow down. You'll have your last menstrual cycle will kind of be around here, or it'll be your last menstrual cycle around here. So that's your like day 0, and you may not have you're not gonna have another menstrual cycle if you got pregnant or if the fertilization occurred. And something else to note is that if fertilization does occur, your hormones are more leveled off. You have different hormones due to pregnancy, but they are not going to be the same cycle. So both this cycle and this cycle will change. These cycles are to help fertilization to occur. It's to make you most viable to have a kid or have pregnancy. So yeah, very important. Ovulation occurs. It's where you want to have a sperm going into it, and that's where you begin your process for an embryo. And yeah, another side note is that different day after pills or the day after pills, what they do is they signal hormones. They make your hormones work as if you were pregnant. So it tricks your body to say that you are already pregnant or that you are currently pregnant. Yeah, so it's just to trick your body, and so it'll regulate your hormones to your body. It throws off your uterine cycle, which is also why I'm not a big fan of contraception in that use, because I think it throws out your uterine cycle, it throws out your ovarian cycle, which is why you'll have irregular periods, because you're telling your body that you're either already pregnant or trying to trick your body that you're pregnant. And this is why it's also not 100% successful, because you're just tricking your body, but your body sometimes knows. But thank you, sorry about that. But yeah, ovulation for pregnancy occurs. Pregnancy is where sperm goes into it. And this is also, that's the initiation for prophase 2 of the egg. So that's prophase 2. So prophase 1 is at puberty, and then prophase 2 does not start until you get fertilized. Thank you guys for watching.